I want everyone to do a really solid inventory of everyone they've ever dated. It's so important, and it's a step that many people don't do. I really literally need you to go through every single person you've had a significant relationship with, and I want you to write down the qualities they had that are a yes for you and the qualities they had that are a no for you. You can get a picture of what are the red flags, the no's that keep coming up. When you see that pattern, then you have to do the really hard work of looking at yourself and saying, okay, what was the crazy in me that attracted that crazy 5 times?
I'm joined by Amanda Kuda. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hey there, how's it going?
Very good to have you here. What are we saying about the combination of blue blocking glasses and mustache at the moment?
They're great. It's good. I like the look. Definitely, it's good. It's
that's
good
how
look.
you.
What kind of blue blockers are those?
That's how I want to start a podcast. I want to start a podcast with barefaced lies that are also compliments at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's a compliment, but I'm like, how would I respond if I saw you in the real world and didn't know you? You're just some guy out on the street, and I'm passing you, and you have this look going on.
I think I look great. Someone said that it was a little bit of a Freddie Mercury sort of thing going on with the moustache and the glasses. I thought a bit cooler than that. I thought like Oasis maybe, but it doesn't. You know, it doesn't matter. They're Ra Optics. So Matt Maruka, the guy from Ra Optics, will be on soon. CEO and creator of the Light Diet. So in podcast land,
he's nuts.
Yeah, in podcast land, that may have come out before this or after this. So it's like pick and mix. Listeners don't know what they're going to get. So what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about, you've had a couple of episodes about dating in the modern world, but they didn't have a lot of tips, like how do you actually become a modern dater? How do you actually do the thing? And I just want to jam on what are some practical / maybe a little out there things that you could be doing that are going to give you a leg up in the market. A
leg up being both metaphorical and physical.
Yes, exactly.
No, I love it. I put a post up a little while ago, I think before we knew each other, at the start of this year, that said, true love in 2020 is finding someone that you could date sober.
Yes.
Do you think that's true?
Oh my goodness, 100%. I mean, you know that I don't drink, and that for me is a lifestyle. I don't see any situation where I'll go back to it. I know that you say that you might do it every now and then, right? Toggle back and forth. But I don't see anywhere where it adds to my life. And especially in dating, I have seen as a dater where it completely detracts from the situation. And even though it's a scary thing to go out into the dating world saying, I'm doing this stone cold sober, it's actually 100% a value add.
What bad situations have you been in when either you or the other person's got drunk or been drinking, or that you've heard from your friends?
Oh man, every dating situation from my 20s on was lubricated with alcohol. So up until the time I was 32, I guess, every single flirting, dating, first kiss, first time, all of that was all drinking or drunk, right? And I just look back and I think that's completely unproductive. How did I even know if I was attracted to the person, let alone if we had chemistry or anything? And dating as a sober person is, I don't usually say sober, I say alcohol free just because it's like a little bit of a different of a brand, but dating in that market has been so interesting. But also still bad experiences there. I mean, you have to negotiate. Are you going to look for a partner that also doesn't drink? Are you going to tell the person you don't drink, which yes, you should. I can tell you a story about how that's turned out very badly. And how do you go into this knowing that you're going to be fully vulnerable and you're just you? That's it. You don't have any sort of social lubricant to break the ice.
Yes. I mean, straight off, everyone that's listening, think about the last time that you went on a date sober, or if you've ever been on a date sober. And it doesn't count, like if you needed to invite a friend to like a child's birthday party or something, like that doesn't count, right? Because you can't get, when it's like a toddler's barbecue or something, you're not allowed to drink, or it's a wacky warehouse or something, that doesn't count. And you're totally right. Like, people use alcohol as a buttress for their confidence. It's this scaffolding that they wrap around their lives. And I'm totally sweet. Like, if you want to go out, you want to use alcohol and stuff to bolster your confidence, that's fine. My argument has always been, and I think will remain to be, no matter what I'm doing with regards to drinking, that unless you take focus period away from alcohol to actually work out what are my capacities without this augmentation that is drinking, you never actually know where your skills lie. It's like being a power lifter or a bodybuilder or something and always being on a performance enhancing drug throughout your whole career, right?
Yeah.
You got this performance enhancing drug. It's making you be better at the things you're trying to do and giving you skills which technically you don't have. And you're like, right, okay, so do you have those skills? Well, I do, but they're not intrinsic. They're kind of this weird combination of what I'm capable of doing with the assistance of this thing. And then you think, okay, so, with taking alcohol away, giving yourself the opportunity to actually have to develop genuine confidence, to get over what's referred to in pickup artistry as approach anxiety, to actually develop that is a real eye-opener.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I've even dug a little deeper into that more recently. And I work with women who also are either wanting to quit drinking or they have already quit drinking. And so we have this conversation a lot. And one of the big things is, well, how do I go into a date and be confident? What isn't that going to limit the dating pool and all of those things? And yes, but it's going to limit your dating pool to a smaller, more attractive group of people in the end. And one of the things that I really dug into is, okay, what is this, like the subliminal message you're sending to your subconscious when you go out on a date and you have to drink? And okay, so if you're going on a date, what are some reasons you might want to drink, Chris? What do you think is adding to the experience?
Being honest, it's been so long since I drank regularly and even longer since I dated. Like, I can't remember. If you held a gun to my head right now and said, when was the last time you went on a date? I couldn't tell you. But thinking right back, it would have been a combination of, I don't know if this girl or date is going to be sufficiently interesting for me to keep energy high.
Right.
I don't know if I have sufficient confidence. I don't know if I can get over my approach anxiety. Sometimes I might have used a date as pre-drinks to a night out when I might have been going out with my buddies as like a pull the ripcords, like
your warm up.
This date's going badly. Sorry, I see you later on. That was great. And then I'll sneak off to a club or whatever. Sure. So yeah, most of those, but I think a good amount of it would be improved confidence, getting over approach anxiety, stuff like that.
For sure. And the most common answers are exactly that. You want to be able to speak more freely. You want to have more confidence. You want to feel looser. You want to feel sexier, whatever those things are. For men and women, they're probably a little bit different. But if you look at the reverse, the antithesis of that is saying, I don't feel my self-worth is good enough that I could possibly reach that feeling of feeling confident, sexy, engaging, interesting on my own. I do not feel confident enough in that. So therefore, I need something to help me get there. And if I look at it in that perspective, I don't want to date someone who has that like hidden mindset that they do not feel confident enough that they can have a conversation with me and be interesting and be interested without a substance. That just doesn't bode well for our relationship in my mind.
I agree completely. This is a red pill that I'm actually having to do a little bit of work to get myself back to the realization. It's like learning that your sleep quality is better when your phone's outside of your room. And then remembering what it used to be like when you had your phone still in your bedroom. And you're like, oh my God, I actually used to do that. And it's like, I used to think that drinking was just par for the course with dating. Right. Whereas now that red pill is so far down me that I can't get it back out.
Yeah, no. Well, and to go a step further, one of the like really harsh red pills we have to all swallow is that most of our parents didn't have the ability to give us the tools to learn how to emotionally regulate properly. And this might not seem totally related, but just go with me here. So your parents don't have the skills to say, okay, Chris, oh, you're feeling sad. How does that feel? Not to diss your mom and dad, but I'm imagining 90% of our parents didn't do this. They didn't say, Chris, you're feeling sad. I'm so sorry. How does that feel? Where do you feel it in your body? Like, tell me about sadness, Chris. And, or tell me about anger. Tell me about anxiety. Where do you feel that in your body? How does it feel to process it? Most parents are like, oh, let me take that from you. Let me take that pain or anger or anxiety and take it on as a parent. Or let me try and distract you and brush it away. Or let me tell you that big boys or big girls don't cry and you should just stop doing that. So we grow up with this. And then when we reach adolescence, we have to go out and learn to regulate on our own. And if we haven't been given the skills to do so, guess what? No worries. Society has a secret substance, like a little liquid gold for that. And so you can just drink your anxiety, your fear, your sadness, whatever. You can just take this magic elixir and it's gone. So then you're coming into the world, the adult world, with really, really highly stunted emotional growth. You don't have any clue how to properly regulate yourself and your emotions. And I say again, do I really want to be in a relationship, either me coming to the table as that person or me dating the person on the other side of the table that doesn't know how to regulate themselves except for with alcohol? Not really.
Well, I need to kind of wave a little bit of a flag here that it might sound to some of the people who haven't swallowed this red pill yet or haven't gone alcohol free for a little while, like we're saying that all of you are somehow flawed and using alcohol as this coping mechanism. What we're saying is that alcohol isn't being used in a conscious way. It's not being used deliberately by you. It's not something, and there will be some people out there that just like, you know what it is? I just love a glass of wine. And it's like, yeah, we're not talking to you. Well, like, obviously we're not talking to you. But the vast majority of people, it's just not conscious use, right? It's not deliberate. Alcohol use on the whole, forget the dating side of stuff, alcohol use on the whole is just habituated. It's done because it's what you've always done. It's done, and it was done then because it's what everybody else did. So you've got this weird like mimetic thing going on where it's passed down. My daddy did it and his daddy before him. And you know, like that's how my mommy and daddy met. So I don't know. You're in Texas. I'm allowed to say that.
Yes, no, for sure. It's not, anyone who drinks isn't fundamentally flawed, but anyone who drinks at a decent level, guaranteed you have to believe that that substance is either helping you achieve a desired outcome or avoid an undesirable outcome. And from that perspective, it's not a neutral in your life, right? You're always trying to drink it or, use it to get somewhere that's more desirable than where you are right now. And that's kind of a dangerous place to be. And definitely when it comes to dating.
Yeah, I agree. So tell us some of the tips. What are some of the things that we can do? Because me and you both in our 30s and both single. I'm not sure whether you're quite as hopeless as I am, but both very single. Actually, hyper in lockdown. You're like as single as is possible to be.
Oh yeah. There's nothing out there. There's no one in my apartment complex. Nothing. I'm just here. I'm just a lady with 2 dogs. Talking just into a camera.
Will Smith, I am legending the shit out of it right now.
Yes.
That's what's going on. Okay, so give us some tips.
Okay. So the first tip that I want to give everyone, especially if you find that you've continued to date kind of the same type of person throughout your history, I want everyone to do a really solid inventory of everyone they've ever dated. And that sounds a little time consuming, but it's so important. And it's a step that many people don't do. So let me detail what that is. And maybe you've done it, or maybe some people listening have done it, but I guarantee that the bulk of people haven't. So when you do an inventory, I want you to go through and just make like a simple sheet of paper, fold it in half and put on one side like yes and one side no. And I really literally need you to go through every single person you've had a significant relationship with. And I want you to write down the qualities they had that are a yes for you and the qualities they had that are a no for you. And what you can do from this landscape is you can get a picture of, number one, what are the red flags, the no's that keep coming up? And I would guarantee if you're thinking about it right now, I guarantee you could spot between like 2 or 3 people what some of the same kind of no's are, or what some of the same, like those aren't so great qualities are. And when you see that pattern, then you have to do the really hard work of looking at yourself and saying, okay, what was the crazy in me that attracted that crazy 5 times? Like, what is the world trying to tell me? What do I need to look at that I keep getting that same scenario? Because it's not the guy or the girl, it's me. I'm the common denominator, right?
So I'm trying to think about the yeses and the good things. What's interesting for me as I'm trying to do it in my head is many of the things which I have that are common attractors amongst the girls that I've dated also come with some malignant side effects, which are probably linked to the nose as well.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I tend to go for girls who are more type A, quite driven. Great. Like, that's good. It means that we're growth minded. It means that they're always going to be prepared to do things together. On the no side of that, it makes them incredibly disagreeable. And because I'm quite high in disagreeableness, that means that we end up clashing. So you need it. I think a lot of these are going to kind of come as pairs, right? With some of them, and it's going to be, okay, can I try and find someone who has part of the yes, but maybe doesn't have all of the no?
Sure. I know that's a really important distinguishing factor, but you can get someone who is high in arguability, and also just knows how to alchemize an argument to where it's you and them against the fight, against this other thing, versus you against them. And that's the big difference between someone who maybe is just at the next level of that type of person you've been dating, right? And you can only see that and see the pattern once you really get clear on, okay, here are all the lovely things about Janet. Here are all the things about Janet that annoyed the shit out of me and that I don't really want to attract in another partner. And how can I work through those things that are annoying as shit about all of my partners, and ask myself, why am I so argumentative? Is there something that is in me that has to be right, or I'm trying to prove myself, or, I have like this little shadow in my past that someone embarrassed me for being wrong, and that I can work through that and be a better partner myself. And then I can just stop attracting, this type of specific person. And it's been really enlightening for me. Like my specific pattern on the no, well, it's you need to do this exercise in a couple of ways. It's yeses and nos, and then it's also additional qualities. So some people, when they make a list of what their partner looks like, it's like, tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever. They're going for physical things. And of course, I'm going to encourage you to go more for, I'm attracted to this person, right? Not like this person has to look like this for me to be attracted to them. Can't you just write down, I'm attracted to this person, or they're physically attractive to me, and that be enough? And that can evolve in whatever way it is in how that person comes to you. But what this does is it gives you this really clear list of who you're looking for, and allows you to go back and look at, are there any stuck points here? Because let's say you're talking about, I don't know who, sorry for all the Janets out there, because I'm just going to go down the rabbit hole and dog on you.
We've already said this before, that if your name is Janet, Karen, or Sharon, right now the internet is a terrible place to be.
It sucks.
I watched a video the other day that was called the Karenpocalypse. Which was about all of these sort of mid-50s women, mostly American, who've been re-released into the wild, and they're just going crazy, screaming at people it's always in a supermarket car park against the security.
Yes.
And then Ben Shapiro last week tweeted, "Facts don't Karen about your feelings." That guy kills me.
Oh, that's so good.
So, yeah. Janet.
So Karen, Janet.
Yep.
So it also allows you to go back and see if you have any unresolved feelings with any of these people. So maybe you look at Janet and you still feel a little lust, or a little bit of oh, what if that could work out again? Or you look at Janet and you're like, Janet's a cold hard bitch. I don't ever want to think about her again. And those are both kind of personal red flags to me, because it says that I'm still either romanticizing something about this person, or I haven't let something go. Because anyone who I feel like I have to talk crap about basically in my life, there's another thing there that I need to look at. If I can't look at a person with pure appreciation and say, Steve was in my life to teach me this lesson, and yeah, he did also some crummy things, but I can look past those, then I still have something to look at there. There's still something that's agitating me about that relationship, and just getting all of these things down on a list, reminiscing and deciding, okay, do I have, am I romanticizing this person? Am I making them too perfect? Am I making them, kind of more of a devil character in my life? And how can I come to a neutral? And how can I take all of the things I liked about that person and say, hey, perhaps all of these people were brought to me to show me that these characteristics exist in individual people, and that could I just imagine for just one moment that they could all be found in one single individual, and that that's a possibility for me. And when I go out on a date that I say, you know what, this is what I've said that I want. I'm not going to stay on this track. I'm not going to keep going out with this person unless they meet this list that I have. And really just holding confidence that that could actually exist, because so often we're told, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I've got something that I've been thinking about a lot recently that I want to get onto to do with that. Before that, one of the things I've realized that I've done in the past is had a relationship or whatever with a girl for a while, and then it's ended, either my side, her side, mutual, whatever it might be. But if I've had unresolved attraction towards her, I've then tried the next few girls that I've ended up dating, or the ones that I've been putting groundwork in with. I'm like, they kind of seem an awful lot, a little bit like the one from before, a little bit. Like when you look at them, you're like, am I like just trying to recreate this? Am I trying to find the thing especially if it's unrequited, right? Especially if it's the sort of thing where it was finished by the other person. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna find her, but better. It's like better, yeah. So that's one thing. Second thing that I'm thinking about is when you talk about putting stuff down on paper. First off, it's the most effective way to actually become conscious of your thought processes, right?
Always.
It's the reason why morning pages is such a big thing from Julia Cameron. It's the reason why morning gratitude and an evening cool down routine are important as well. Hashtag 6-minute diary. Everyone knows what I'm on about. But it brings up some pretty ugly stuff, because if you've never done it before, you realize just how big the size of the septic tank is that all of your feelings have been swimming around in, festering. There's this weird, like, oily film on the top of it, and you got to even get through the oily film before you can even get to, like, and there's lumps in it. Yeah, there's lumps at the bottom, and then at the bottom there's, like, sludge, and you kind of got to get a shovel out. And it's very uncomfortable, is my point. Like, self-introspective work is one of the most uncomfortable things in the world. And the saddest part about it is that it never finishes. Like, you never stop doing self-inquiry. It's not like, oh, yay, like, actualized, off I go to go and sit in the sunshine. Like, that's not the way it works.
Isn't that the exciting part about it, though, that you don't just, like, get to this level and you're like, okay, I think that's exciting.
It's a bit exciting, but to me, it's also a little bit like an infinity game of pass the parcel. So you pass the parcel and you unwrap it and you're like, oh, yay, like, did a little bit more self-inquiry there, like one level through. But you never actually get to the parcel. There's no parcel. There's just wrapping. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. You're like 77 years old, having meditated for 50 years. And done all the self-inquiry in the world. And you're just looking at it and you're like, I've just got more wrapping paper here. This is just, someone said there was a parcel inside. So, but yeah, that's that final thing. My final little train of thought that I can close is from the Daniel Sloss podcast I did. Daniel's a Scottish comedian, very famous, been on Netflix and HBO and stuff like that. And he says something similar to what you've just said, which is, I have standards that I want my partner to meet. Now, the problem, and this is something I'm going to put to you, the challenge that you have is most people's dating that I see, or a lot of people's dating that I see, is done unconsciously. More people than don't, as far as I'm concerned, choose to be in a relationship out of a fear of being alone rather than a desire to be with the person that they're with. They choose something which is the closest proxy to a person that will make them happy rather than the person that they actually want. They're like, yeah, you look about right. Like, if we...
Mr. Good Enough.
If we, like, just tap that down a little bit on the top and get, and if I ignore this part of your personality, and if I forget the fact that I've got this level of either attraction or unattraction to you, and this, that, and the other, but the implication of that is that if you decide to set these standards out, if you take the red pill, and if you decide to become fully conscious of all of these different things, the likelihood of you finding somebody who meets all of these fully aware criteria that you have starts to go down quite sharply.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. So many things to cover here. Let me wrap back around to the start of your comments. Oh yeah. Slam that down. The first part is, reattracting the same type of person because you're trying to find a quality that you lost, that you felt was, like, just unrequited in another person. And I have a couple of things there. So one of my mentors, Gabby Bernstein, she says, show up for what's up or it'll keep coming up. And it's just a reminder that you got to clean up your side of the street to stop attracting those things that are undesirable or that are repetitive patterns. But also sometimes you just have to, I'm going to get a little like woo woo here. I'm a meditator. I know you are as well, but like a really specific thing you can do in that situation is do some sort of a cord cutting meditation where you just sit and you envision the two of you going your separate ways peacefully. You could partner that with some sort of affirmation, like I am willing to release this person and the hold that they have over me in my heart, and just help me to release this like burden or this like tie I have to this person, because it's not productive for you or for them to have this like emotional bond left. And you don't have to call them and say, hey, I'm over you. You can do that work within yourself to release it, right? You don't have to have any contact with that person. And it feels so freeing when you're no longer chasing that quality or that person in someone else. Like it's just this weight off of your shoulders. So there's that. I would just definitely recommend for anyone who's going through that similar situation where you're kind of stuck or hung up on someone or a characteristic that someone had that you can't seem to replicate anywhere, to do some sort of like cord cutting meditation. You can just Google it and find one that you'll be guided through and it'll be great. Okay. The next thing you also mentioned, having high, like just too high standards, I guess. And I get it. Like I do, like you start to make this list of who is your fantasy, like prince or princess charming, whatever that looks like in your world. And it starts to become a little unrealistic. And yes, you may have to make some compromises of, okay, so the person doesn't have to look exactly like this, or maybe you start to get more broad, because here's the thing, our little like creative minds are not as creative as the possibility in the world. So what I think right now that I want, that could just be part of some like weird elaborate Hallmark fantasy that I've created, right? And there could be
so much.
Yeah, there could be something way better out there, but I've put myself in this little box of this is exactly the person who I want to have. So you also have to like give the universe and like the powers that be some sort of creative, creative license here as well.
Yeah, the number of times that friends that I know have quite prescriptive ideas about the sort of person that they want. I always want a girl who's like into fitness, or I want a guy who's real tall and dark and handsome, or whatever it is. And it's the female artist or the dude that's actually like a low key guitar player that's only 5'10", that comes in, and they're the ones that absolutely annihilate them because they completely break down all of the preconceptions that they had. I think almost one of the reasons that we like to keep going for people that are similar, and almost it's a failing of the what's your type question mentality, is that you know what you're in for. You would much sooner be unhappy in a familiar way than risk being incredibly happy with something that's new, because the coping mechanisms that you need to deal with the breakup of the new thing require an awful lot more learning. You're like, I don't know how to deal with the breakup with the artist girl. Like I was great at dealing with the breakup with the fitness girl, like because I did it 5 times. Like she was easy, but this one's got charcoal on her hands and she wears a beret and we used to go to art galleries together. And you're like, oh, okay. So I think, again, a lot of that, like, this is, again, what we're saying, like, self-inquiry. It's just this never fucking ending vortex of like playing past the parcel. And you think, yeah, I got it. There's my biases gone. And you're like, nah, mate, no, you're so wrong.
No, for sure. It's always another, I'm always learning something. Every person I date, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that I wanted that, or I didn't know that bothered me. And it's just this ever evolution. But that's another thing. Like always, anytime you date someone, add back to that list of qualifications, because you always get something new that you're like, whoa, I really dig that about, this person and how they did that or how they got on in the world. And like, keep adding onto that list, my friends, because it just, unless you have this like long list of things that you like and that you're not that into, you're going to go into the next situation and then you'll start to like, oh, well, but or you'll forget, there was this one little thing that is kind of a deal breaker, and it's just so good to have that standing. But in context of dating today, I think that looking at that from the dating app perspective is really interesting, because then you're just given like this visual portfolio of someone, and you start to really rely on what is my type, who is that person. And I think that it's really convoluted the dating game in a really shit way.
Do you use, have you been online date? I mean, it's so weird when people ask that question, but I felt compelled to. I don't know why I even asked it. Like, who that's single hasn't used Tinder? Like,
for sure.
You're single.
Also, is Tinder all you use there in the UK? Do you guys not have anything like higher caliber, like Bumble or something? Or do people just not use that?
So I was seeing a girl about 2.5 years ago, and someone made a fake profile of me on Bumble.
Okay.
She was adamant, absolutely adamant, that it was actually me. And my
response, play the system.
And I was like, look, I'm telling you that it's not. Sent her like swipe down from the top of my applications. I was like, look, if I type in BUM, nothing comes up, which was fortunate because it could have been like Amanda Great Bum 2019 or something like that. I was like, look, I don't have the app, and she was still adamant. And I was like, right, okay, you've decided to push the button far too far. So I was just like, look, you're going to make yourself look really stupid here, and then just became scathing. That one situation, it was maybe a 5-minute spearhead. And then the subsequent like 2 or 3 days of it burbling down and her realizing that she was wrong. That was attraction over for me. I was like, yeah, there you go. 5 minutes. You killed it. Yep. I'm off. See you later on.
Yeah. Thanks for saving me some time, sister.
So like Hinge and Bumble and stuff like that. They are on over here. What's the premier? What's like the gold standard dating app over in America?
I would say it's probably Bumble right now. Just they're the hot one, but the brand of Tinder is definitely more hookup culture. So that's not one I even play with. But I think that no matter where you're using dating apps, I went into it with a really bad attitude for the longest time. And you know what? When you go into something with a bad attitude, damn straight you're going to get bad results. So I would love to share some tricks that I use to kind of like game the system and use all of these things more intentionally, because I guarantee if you are disciplined enough to put some of these things into practice, that you will get much better results off of whatever app you're using, even if it's Tinder.
Tinder discipline or Bumble discipline. That's what we're here for. Okay,
got it. So, all right. So in terms of, I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about your profile. I want to talk about some rules for engaging with people. And I want to talk about actually your rules, like some rules for using the app itself. So the first thing is, if you look at a Bumble, a Tinder, whatever, it's like a social media game, right? It's an endorphin hit the entire time. And if you let yourself treat it as that, that's all you're going to get in results. It's always going to be just another Instagram, another Facebook, another whatever, game you're playing. And how many times have you sat down before you get on Bumble or you get to get on Tinder? How many times have you sat down, you just like closed your eyes and meditated and said, let me think about the partner who I want to like call in on this app or who I want to meet. Let me think about who that person is. Have you ever done that?
Have I? No, I haven't. No, it's for me. It's when I'm bored,
Yes, it's a time suck.
Or when I'm somewhere new, because obviously I'm far too much of a cheapskate to pay for Tinder Pro. So
for sure.
Like I'll go somewhere on holiday and use up 100 swipes a day of like I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe she'll go. And to be fair, in my defense, it's worked out really phenomenally for meeting cool people. So I made a fantastic friend that I'm still mates with 2.5 years later from Iceland when I was in Iceland. I managed to get backstage in front of 250,000 people on the 4th of July in Nashville with Brett Eldridge this year because of Tinder. So it's not like I feel like now that you've given the hierarchy to it, I feel like I'm like all seedy down here in the mud using Tinder
a little bit.
Well, I didn't know. Okay. Anyway,
well, here's the thing though. Like if you're going on Tinder, if you're going on any of these to like make friends real quick or find a hookup or whatever, that's a different intentionality. But if you actually want to meet someone who's dateable, who you want to spend some time with, like wouldn't it then, make more sense to sit down and say, okay, this is my 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day I'm going to devote to looking for someone who I want to date, rather than I'm watching, whatever on Netflix and let me pop this up so I can like scroll
double
through or
screening through. Yeah, well, I mean, in my defense, on those examples, in my defense, I was just looking for backstage tickets to Brett Eldridge, so that worked out fine. That was one for one successes.
Yep.
But yeah, and again, like I think part of the transactional nature and the easy come, easy go way that these apps are done, and also with kind of like young hookup culture and stuff like that as well. Mm-hmm. The intention isn't there for most people to use it properly, but if they actually ask themselves, like, why am I on Tinder? Like, if you want to hook up, it's, in terms of a time investment perspective, it's significantly quicker for you to just go on a night out in a club after midnight. Like, you'll pull far more easily that way if that's what you're after. So if you're going to put your time in on these sorts of apps, you're right. It makes sense to be like, right, okay, so why am I here? Why am I bothering to even spend my time on this? I have everything else in the universe that isn't a dating app to be doing with my time right now. Mm-hmm. Why am I here? Yes, absolutely. So if you instead set a time, especially if you're into productivity, right? You know, if you set a time, like this is my time to look for a partner. Like I'm going to put it on my Google Calendar. Do it. Set it up on your full focus planner, my friend. Set aside your time and instead of like doing it in the grocery line, that's just passive, you know, time pass. It just doesn't help. So I'm not saying like this is the end all be all, but I'm just saying when I do this, I get much better results because I have said, this is what I'm showing up for. And this is what I expect to get. And it's just kind of like manifestation magic. Like you get what you are game for. So be a little more intentional about the time you use, and also when you're getting on to respond to things and when you're not, when you're checking your messages. It's just like with anything, Instagram or Facebook can become complete waste of time and just like mindless activities that you do. And so can a dating app. So get on at 5:00, and this is when you're responding to messages for a while until you switch to texting with someone. And then that's a different relationship. So that's my like number one rule, is just be intentional about when you're using the app and what you're doing, because mindless activity gets you mindless results. And, you know, if you're there for that, that's cool. But if you actually want a high caliber partner, you're not going to get it with just like randomly swiping. Cool. What's next? Okay. So, oh man, I just feel so, I need to teach people how to set up a proper profile. I'm just looking at the men's side, of course. I only get to see men's profiles. They suck. They're really bad, guys. What are the key mistakes that guys make on Tinder? All right. So guys and girls make these as well, but I've looked at plenty of my girlfriends' profiles who are doing this as well. So girls, like, listen up. This is something you can improve on as well. But first of all, you get 6 pictures, right? You have 6 opportunities to show someone else what you look like. And I have some pretty strong rules for myself of what I will put there. And I think the other person should have that too. So let me tell you, I'm going to sound a little crazy, but it works. Let me tell you. First of all, no more than 1 picture where you can't see your full face. So that means sunglasses, hat, or you're far away. So you can have a picture of you with your sunglasses, but that's it. You cannot have any other picture where you're hidden, because I need to know if I want to meet you in public, then I can pick you out in a crowded room. I don't want to be like, oh, is that Chris? I can't tell because he had sunglasses on or a hat. Is that the equivalent for like dog filter, Snapchat dog filter? No filters allowed. No filters. Right, okay. Yes, you cannot use any filters. Like, Jesus, please. Girls, you are the worst at this. Like, no flower crown. Just be like a picture of yourself, for God's sakes. It's that hard. It's that, doing the flower crown or doing like the dog photo is making a profile for your girlfriends to see. It's like, no, unless you've selected like, I'm interested in women, like, yes. What do you, yeah, I get it. I feel like for guys, like, stop rewarding that behavior. Make that a hard left. Like, don't even acknowledge. It's just so frustrating. Who cares? Like, get your Snapchat filters out of here. So basically 5 of the 6 pictures need to be where I can see you full body. That means I don't want 5 pictures of you and all your bros, because then I'm trying to figure out who you are. How do I know which one of you are in there? Right? I'm zooming in. I'm like, which one is he? They all need to be within the last year. You need to have at least one that's like full body and not like, you know, you don't have to be like showing off your body, but to where at least I can see the rest of you. And then also only 1 action shot. So great, you're an adventurer, you go on tons of vacations, but you're like a little blip out here in the snow in a snowsuit.
that cool. Like, I'm so glad you're an expert skier, but I can't see who you are as a person. You could tell me I like to ski and I could make that picture of any person in a snowsuit a million feet away in the snow, right? I don't need your visualization help.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we set up our profiles. We've got our little rules for photos. You listened to the episode I did with Rob Henderson, didn't you, about the difference in conversions? So anyone who's listening who didn't listen to this, go back and check our episode with Rob Henderson on the evolution in the modern dating market. Was like so good. And in that, he said that essentially girls swipe right about 1 in 8 to 1 in 10 times, and sometimes can go through entire periods, like entire batches of work on Tinder or whatever without even swiping right once, whereas guys tend to swipe in the opposite direction. They tend to not swipe like 1 in 8 to 1 in 10 times.
Sure.
The difference in conversion for guys is if you have a bachelor's degree in your bio, you'll tend to convert at around about 20% better. And if you have a master's degree in your bio, you'll then convert at another 20% better as well. And that's like, this isn't me, right, saying that girls only go for guys who are educated or are wealthy. This is facts. Don't Karen about your feelings, okay?
For sure. Oh my God.
Do not Karen about your feelings.
Also, I would posit that women put more effort into their profiles, right? They are putting up better pictures.
Much more.
And so I'd much rather go through a woman's like profile than men's, because I get something like visual to see.
That's a bit of work, yeah.
Yeah. And so put in the work. I guarantee that statistic would change if the men were putting in more work into getting pictures. And I get it. Like, it's uncomfortable to take photos. Maybe you don't have a ton of yourself, but you have a friggin' high caliber camera in your phone. Everyone has it. Like, ain't nobody using a flip phone anymore that has a shit camera. Like, everyone has an HD camera in their hand. Set up a self timer, figure it out. You can take a selfie, you can take a picture of yourself. Like, those pictures can be created if you do not have them.
I think so. I'm gonna put a couple of caveats in as well from some stuff that I've picked up over the years.
Yeah.
If you are a guy, it's a fairly good idea to have at least one photo where you're in a group that has other girls in, and make the girls at least moderately attractive. The reason being that you want to look like a well-rounded guy. One, you're signaling, I am someone that other girls want to spend time with, not some total weird freak. I think you probably need to have a top line barrier of maybe 50% selfies. Like, ideally, you don't want to look like a mouth-breathing basement dweller who has to take all their own photos.
For sure.
So, like, if you've got the full frame thing, even if you, like you say, if you've kind of mess around with the self timer and like just prop your phone up with some books, at least you can fake having friends.
Yeah.
So.
That's all that's important. That's all that matters.
I'm friends with these books. Okay, so we got the intentionality and the pre-Bumble meditation. We've got the guidance on setting up your profile. What's next?
The other thing that's frustrating is just the communication factor and how unintentional some people are. And I'm sure you've had plenty of outreach on, either Tinder or Instagram where someone just says hi. Right. Or even worse, like a passive like, where they just like thumbs up a photo and expect that to be enough to be a conversation starter. And I know girls are just as bad as
just a GIF from girls is the one. Like, if I get another one, because I don't watch Friends, so I don't know who any of the characters are, but there's like some guy from Friends or some girl from Friends or something, this like famous Friends GIF, like, how are you doing or something, that's written below.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And like, there is an entire internet of GIFs out there. The fact that I've received that GIF so many times that I can recall it means like that GIF is now outlawed for the rest of time. Yeah.
Yep. Hear that, ladies? That's not the way to Chris's heart. Yeah, it's so passive. And if you wanted to meet someone organically at the grocery store, you would not exude that kind of behavior, right? You wouldn't just go up to them and like smile or randomly thumbs up, and that would be super creepy. You would say, hello, how are you? Or you say, hello, have you tried this quinoa before? You'd ask them a question that's like relevant to the situation. You wouldn't just stare at them and like Like,
Yeah.
creepily
Hello.
sugar approval.
Do you know where the feminine hygiene or the erectile dysfunction aisle is?
Uh, Maybe not that one, but yes, something in that vein. Yes, ask a question. So same thing with a dating app. Like, ask a stinking question. Ask a question, and not something, I'm not going to give away my best one because I sell that to other people, but there are some really good questions you can ask that are open-ended that get to like, I care about you. I either read your profile, I'm ready to engage with you, but it's just so frustrating when you get a hi, hello, I'm not even going to try. I'm going to put the ball back in your court because I don't have enough, confidence or time to actually start a conversation with you. So always start a conversation, ladies and gentlemen, both of you.
Yeah, I guess even if you don't ask a question, the implication of you just alerting the other person to your existence is this is now a job for you to do.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just it's making the other person work super hard. So like, give us I'm going to use the leg up.
throws a fucking bone here.
Throws a bone. Yes, you got it.
Okay, what next? What else?
So those are like the main rules for just like navigating the dating apps. The other things that I like to put into place, this sounds like I'm like a badass and have like all these rules, like you're never going to get past the stone wall here, but that's not true. I'm just very, very intentional. And the other thing is when you actually are going out on dates, and I've seen so many people like really screw this up and do this a very casual way. So I'm going to tell you, I have a 3-rule date, and that is nothing to do with sex. It is this, there are 3 dates. You have to go on 3 dates that are actually like meaningful dates where you get to know a person. And I actually like to look at them more as like a meetup, because if I'm just meeting you for the first time, I don't know if I like want to date you or go on a date with you if I met you on a dating app or even in a grocery store. So can we not just look at it as we're going to have a casual, hang out where we decide, can we be friends? And for me, that looks like you have to be able to hear the person. So you have to be at like a coffee shop, on a patio, or on a walk. A walk date is my like top 1 favorite date all time. Like, can we just go on a walk, like move together, and also have that way, like silence isn't uncomfortable. It's just so much better. Like, walk dates are my jam. And so many people, especially like to go back to the alcohol conversation, it's let's meet for drinks. Okay. So let's go to a bar, a happy hour, whatever. And it just completely convolutes the situation. Not only the fact that you're drinking, but more of the factor that you're in a loud environment where you can't hear the other person. You are overstimulated by everything that's going on around you. And if I want to know if I want to have a long-term relationship with you, I actually want to sit down and get to know you a little bit. And so my first 3 dates can never be bar, concert, movies, comedy show, anything that's like raucous around me. Like, I need to have like concentration and be able to have a conversation with a person.
I love it. I can just see the or hear the discomfort coming from a lot of people who think, well, yeah, like that's all well and good, but like, that just sounds a bit sort of lame or boring. And it's like, okay, so what you're saying is the people you choose to date are so uninteresting that you can't bear to be around them without something else to entertain you. Well, no. It's just no. That's that's
exactly what you're saying.
If you have a visceral response at the moment to the suggestions that Amanda's making, that you shouldn't have this kind of hyper stimulated, hyper normalized environment where there's loads of stuff going on, and if you've got, it's kind of just below your breastbone, kind of just above your stomach, if there's like a bit of a hot feeling there and you're finding yourself swallowing a lot, that is because it's triggering you. And that means that there's a little bit of something for you to work on there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just, you have to look at and of course I've had my days where, those were the fun days, and that was my 20s. That's great. And if you're still in your 20s, like, just don't, write this down, listen to this in a couple of years, and you're going to thank me so much more. Yeah. Come back to this episode, pin it, flag it, do whatever. Yeah. But so if you're in your 20s, just go have fun, screw around, do whatever. You deserve that time. That's like your rite of passage to do all of that. But if you're in a point where you actually value your own time and you want to have a meaningful connection with another person, you can't do all of these other things that just signal transaction, right? And that's exactly what any of these dates signal is, okay, I don't find you interesting, or I don't have enough faith in myself to be interesting that we could go do one of these other things where we're a little less like stimulated around us. And frankly, a walking date, there's plenty to stimulate you. You're going to pass other people. I mean, obviously you have to live in an environment where that's it's warm enough and whatnot. But that is the ultimate stimulation. You have things all around you to talk about, people you're passing that you can comment on. It just gets your brain moving. I think that I wish I could like trademark the walking date.
The walking date's a good idea. Yeah. I like as well. There's I sound like someone who's just lived and breathed Neil Strauss's The Game, but the only references I have from the guys' side, there isn't an equivalent for guys of a holistic approach for dating as there is for girls. There's just pickup artistry. At least if you're my age, now there is some slightly more good stuff. And I'm going to give you my number one book, guys, for dating advice at the end of this podcast. So stick around for that. But there is a common held piece of advice in dating that you shouldn't sit opposite each other if you can. You should try and sit at a right angle. So you should try and sit adjacent because it is less confrontational. It means that you're both moving in the same direction together. But the walking date is actually even a step up from that, right? That you're kind of with the person turning to them and then kind of going back to the front and then turning to them and go back to the front.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Got a little bit of CBT going on for you there. Okay. So what we got? Walking date. What else?
My dog is about to howl in the background. I'm sorry for any of you. He's taking a nap. He just woken up. Yeah, it's a him. Okay, so walking date. I think. Oh, and then really being clear at the end and going back and reviewing kind of the date that you were on and what you liked about that person and what you didn't. But even before, like, let me wrap back around to before the date. I know that you kind of alluded to the fact that some of your listeners, and I agree, are probably thinking, oh, well, that's really, what if I'm not, able to talk to the person, or what if I'm not interesting or they're boring and all of these things. You have to hold in your heart that the person that you're meeting across the table, if you're going to take a chance to meet with them, that could be your potential partner, and you have to treat everyone as such. Like, that is another thing that's really helped me level up, especially on dating apps where it's really easy to say like, oh, they could have just been really good at marketing themselves, but now like, I have to go on this date with a stranger. And when you go into a date with that mindset, you automatically project it to the person. You're automatically held back. If you can just go in there and imagine for a second, like, yes, this could be my person, but not in like the crazy way
not the buddy by the way
crazy, but that you're treating them as if they could be your person. You're not holding a grudge on them that you had to meet them on a dating app, or holding a grudge that this is awkward or whatever it is, that you're like really giving it your all, and you want them to feel loved and appreciated in the conversation.
So that's two infrastructure-based piece of advice that kind of link in with what you've just said there that I've got for guys and girls, which is, if you open the funnel in Instagram or on a dating app, your first goal should be to get them off of that and into WhatsApp as quickly as possible. Like, if you get past obviously presuming that you think they're sufficiently attractive, they're sufficiently interesting, like get them off that, because the platform that you are on is coloring all of the interactions. For as long as you're the Tinder girl, you can be like the fittest, most interesting Elon Musk incarnate in female form level of intellect girl on the planet. But for as long as you are on Tinder, you're in the gutter. Yep. So get yourself out of that as quickly as possible.
For sure.
And with that, like, this sounds so bad, but you need, in my opinion, you need a scalable option to be able to get yourself off that sort of a platform. So come up with a script, come up with a funny little joke. I've got mine. I can't say it because then when I say it to, well, like, you know
Same.
what I mean?
Yep.
See, this is the thing. There's a level of transparency that you get on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I always said I was going to be truthful with you, but I didn't always say that I was going to be completely transparent. But you need to just have a thing, and it's like, just use that. Like, if something comes up naturally and you're like, oh, I really think that I should tell you about the best coffee shop in this, let me pin you the location on WhatsApp or whatever, like, kind of, but it seems so contrived, right? Like, just come up with a script and use that. And like, when it's like, okay, it's time to pull the pin. And if they say, oh, I don't really have WhatsApp or do whatever, everyone's got it. Shut up.
Yes.
And then, so move them on. Okay. So we got the walking date. We've got what else do we have?
We've got be intentional with using the app when you're using it. Have a good conversation starter. Don't just give a passive conversation. We have set up your profile, put some intention to it. Don't just like jack around and put the first 5 pictures on your phone, or find, that's just a big one. Like, be intentional with your profile. Everyone, if you are trying, you're on a visual service, you have to have a visual profile that's pleasing. It doesn't mean you have to look like a supermodel, but we just have to see what you look like and who you are. And then just have a little bit of hope for who you're meeting and what's happening there. If you look at dating apps, just like I have, as at some point of like, oh, this is just shit, everyone's on here, it's just the same old thing over and over, then you'll get the same old thing over and over. And that's not the result you're wanting. If you want a better result, like, put your mind to the possibility that it could be in there. Or just, this sounds, well, no, it sounds masculine to me. It sounds harsh coming from a woman. But one of the things that I tell my clients is, if you don't like dating apps, at least use them for practice. Like, you have an endless pool here of dates you can go on and completely fuck up, and then just move on to the next person. Yeah. Right. Like, at least get yourself some confidence and go out on these random dates. And then when you meet him in the grocery store on the quinoa aisle, you'll have, the confidence because you've already had all of these conversations. Feminine hygiene
in erectile dysfunction aisle. Yeah, exactly. So yes. I got a couple of things that I've come up with recently, actually, that have popped up in my head. So one of them is another concept from Pickup Artistry, which is called assume attraction. Mm-hmm. And assume attraction is exactly as it says on the tin, that you are the prize. So that's the subheading. Assume attraction is the concept, and you are the prize is the subheading. What it means is that you need to go into a situation with, it doesn't matter how hot the other person is, or how interesting or how intimidating the other person is. You know all of your uniqueness, your quirks, all of the different life experiences that you have. That makes you incredibly unique. And this person is just Jonathan or Leanne or whatever it might be. Like, they're just a person. You are you. You have all of these real different, colorful, interesting things. Even if you think that you're boring as hell, you're not, because you've got 20, 30, 40, however many years of experiences behind you. You are the prize. And if you go into the situation with that in your mind, it will come across in the way that you project yourself. It will also make you a lot less worried about failure or about being rejected. So, for instance, my life comes first, and then you will attach onto the side of that. You are the prize. And it's the equivalent. I've got a friend, Alex O'Connor, been on this podcast. He is a big atheist podcaster, and he sat down with Richard Dawkins, the guy that created New Atheism. And I was like, dude, he's only 20 years old, this kid. He's like freak savage, crazy clever, at Oxford Uni doing philosophy. And I was like, were you not worried? Are you not like nervous or whatever? And he was like, no, I was nervous for Richard. Like, he's fortunate to get to sit down with me. Yeah. Like, my podcast is the thing that he's here to be on. I'm not here to be on his show. He's here to be on my show. And as soon as he taught me that, and I was like, holy shit. And now every guy, like Ben Greenfield came on here, and I was like, it's fortunate for Ben to be on my show. Ryan Holiday's just confirmed to be on this podcast. I'm like, that's going to be fun for Ryan to be on this show. Like, and that going into it, even if it's, that you're kind of gaming it a little bit, there's your thoughts become the intentions quite quickly, and you're like, yeah, actually, I am like a bit of a badass. Like, there's no reason that I shouldn't be like owning this girl who drives a 911 and is in penthouse and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. No, that's a great perspective to take, because if you don't, then you're coming to it from the perspective of, I don't have enough, so I have to find that extra something that I don't have within you. And it's never going to work. You're always picking based on an emptiness that you have that you think the other person can fulfill.
100%. Yeah. Okay. So that's my first thing. Assume attraction, and you are the prize. I've already said, like, get yourself out of the app. And this goes for guys and girls. I also think that this is why Instagram is a underused, or is a better to use dating app than Tinder is. Now, obviously, you can't refine your search criteria as efficiently, but you get to see a lot more of the other person. You can work out mutual connections more effectively. And also, you're never going to be like the Tinder girl or the Tinder guy. You'll just be the Instagram girl or the Instagram guy, which again, naturally, it just raises that level of conversation up just a little bit more. It makes you think, well, this is kind of a little bit more normal. I said that I was going to give my my favorite book, and this would be really cool for you to actually get most common dating errors that you see from guys and girls, and then any resources and stuff like that, and obviously like your own stuff for sure. But for me, for girls, I'm sorry, I think on the whole, I think girls are pretty good daters. I think that you're always going to say this, right? But like, I think that guys just suck at dating. Like I'm friends with too many young lads to know, to even believe that guys are competent at dating. They just suck.
Right. Yeah.
And like, there's some guys are pigs, including me, at times in my past, not now, obviously, Angel, but
of course,
my favorite book, Models by Mark Manson. So it was the first book that he ever wrote, and it was How to Attract Women Through Honesty, which has, depending on where you're coming from it, looking at it, it could be like a real mincy kind of like fluffy title, or a really transactional, like that's kind of mean title. But it's just, how do you as a guy maximize who you are to a girl? It lays out a really robust framework of neediness, which he thinks is the prime driver of attraction in relationships, how needy one person is and how the other is, and it maps pretty accurately to reality. So Models by Mark Manson, if you listen to the audiobook, there's an updated version which is about 6 hours long on Audible, and it's awesome. I'll link it. I'll put it in the show notes below. In fact, Mark Manson, I'll put it in the show notes below if you want to go and pick it up. Bonus round, David Dada, The Way of the Superior Man. Now that is a little bit more woo-woo-y. It talks a lot about masculine and feminine energies and stuff. Probably an interesting read, more of an interesting read for girls than Models is. But Way the Superior Man, it very much talks about how, as a man, you should be the principles that you should be leading your life by, basically. There's some intergender dynamics and some relationship stuff in there, but there's other stuff to do with how you deal with relationship and career challenges, how you deal with moving into a new epoch of your life, and all this sorts of stuff. So that's I don't have a big repository of dating advice, which potentially I should do, given the fact, as I've said, that my dating life's sort of fairly terrible. But I'm going to give the floor to you. So first up, what are the main errors you see girls making when they try and date?
I think it is being either too agreeable, like, I just have to give everything to this person. I'll do whatever this person wants. I'm going to completely change who I am or act a different way, and just not standing in your confidence and your worth, and feeling like you have to change or show up in a certain way to be what that person wants or desires or needs. It's just part of the way that we women are brought up, but you can reprogram it. If you notice it, you can reprogram it. What are some other ones? I think not leaning too far towards your masculine or your feminine side, right? I think that can be, in relationships for women, that can be something that's a little bit detrimental, because either you're trying to like stand your ground and saying, no, I'm this person, you have to do whatever I want, and then you're just a bitch, or you are the other way and you're too agreeable to someone, or you're always like, that's more of in the psychology side, that's more of you're the I'm losing my words now. You're the anxious attached person, right? You'll do whatever that other person wants because you need their love from them so bad.
Neither of those polarities are actually that enjoyable to be around as a guy.
No,
I can't speak about what guys are like in that relation for girls, but as a guy, it feels like whoever it is playing a role. Now that could be your true personality. You could be the 99th out of 100 agreeable person, or you could be the 99 out of 100 disagreeable person. That could be you. But the fact that there's so little nuance to the way that you operate, the fact that like everything that I say is rebutted with, well, I don't agree with that, I don't think that that's right, or like a scathing comment, or whatever it is. If I can ask you a question, this is the fucking heuristic. I've worked it out. This is the heuristic to use. If I can ask you a question and I can predict your answer before you answer it, that's it. And think about some of the people that you've spoken to recently. If you're single, obviously, if you're not single, like get off this podcast. Like your partner will find out. But yeah, think about the last few people you've been speaking to. Like, can you predict their answers? Can you ask them a question or say something, make a statement to them? And can you kind of ballpark guess where their answer's going to be? And if you can, like, what are you doing? Like, that is the same as dating a ventriloquist's dummy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. For sure, man. And it just goes to show that that's that person saying they're mirroring what they think is going to be satisfying for you, right? And sorry, you've heard it before. Like, guess what? We've both been in that situation, and it's so bullshit where we're just performing for the other person. And when you find the person that is your person, I just have to believe that it's like two fingers like folding hands. If you're not watching video, it's like you're folding your hands in prayer. They just like fit together, and you don't have to do this like performative bullshit that you've been doing your entire life. And, you know, I'll just wrap back to what I said in the first part, that I really want to drive home, that if you find that you are continuing to attract the same type of person, you have to ask yourself, what is it that person is mirroring to me that I'm supposed to be seeing, that the universe is like, hello, sister, hello, brother, like, we've shown you this 5 times. We're reflecting right to you what you need to friggin' fix in yourself, and you are ignoring it time after time. Like, if you keep attracting that same frustrating, undesirable, you know, deal breaker characteristic, ask yourself how that is in you, or how you're asking for that, because it's safe.
It's you hit the nail on the head before, that you are the common denominator.
Absolutely, you are.
So reading Mark Manson's models, there's 2 red pills that are they're so large that I almost couldn't swallow them. So the first one was essentially that you are the common denominator in all of your relationship failings. Like, people that say, guys that say, and I've been like subject of this as well. I do it, or did it. Where you say, all of the girls in my town are bitches. Mm-hmm. All of the the entire female population in your town, that all of them are bitches. Yes. No. All the girls you meet are bitches, or all of the girls respond to you in a way which makes them seem like bitches. That is the trick, and that's the same for girls as well. If you say, "Oh, do you know what it is? All the guys in my city, they're just all fuckboy. I need to move to it's Italy. Like, if I was in Rome, none of this." And that's the myth. The myth is I've got to move out of my small town, big city, whatever country it is, to find myself X, a guy that has this, a girl that does that. They're just not open-minded enough. They're not free-flowing enough. They're too this, they don't have any dreams. They don't have any goals. You're like, you are the common denominator here. And that hurts to swallow. Like, the fact that you are the architect of your own misery. It
is. Well, that reminds me of, I'm going to give you 2 examples because I know we probably need to wrap up. But for that, I will say, as someone who has moved across state, 2 states away to kind of like reinvent my life, the thing that you have to remember is, wherever you go, there you'll be. It's one of my favorite quotes, because you cannot get away from yourself and your own self-created
I brought it with
problem.
me. I thought I'd left it.
Thought it was gone. No. And, something that's a little bit nuanced about doing this inventory of who you dated before, I will tell you the thing that I found that was a common denominator that was weird, and it really made me have to do a lot of self-reflection. So some of them can be quite obvious, but some of them you might have to dig a little deeper. And one for me was, every man who I've had a significant relationship with, he has been just recently coming out of another significant relationship, unwittingly done by me. Like, I wasn't sitting there like, oh, you just got out of a relationship? Great, you're freed up. Let's go on a date. That wasn't my MO. Some of it I didn't even know until we were involved, but there was something in me that, as like a fixer or something, was attracting someone who needed to feel safe, or needed to, whatever it was that they were looking for. I haven't quite deconstructed that yet. So listeners, if you want to help me out here, do that. But that's mind blowing. Like, every person coming out of a significant relationship. And so that just says there's something in me that I need to work out that stops attracting that. And so I have a book for that. So let me tell you my book recos. So one is, it's not a dating book at all. Guys and girls could use this. Men and women, you might even say, for the older crowd listening. It's called Dark Side of the Light Chasers, and it is all about shadow work. And I think that your listeners are probably self-actualized enough to do this type of work. And it's really just drilling down to, what are those things in my psyche and my own self-identification that I am hiding from and avoiding, that if I could face it, I could really change what I'm attracting in my life. And, you know, for me, I think that if I can solve that one, I'll know why I attracted all of these guys that are just out of a relationship. But it goes into so many other areas. Then two other books I'll recommend just really getting yourself in the right place. Women, one that I really love is a book by Marianne Williamson called A Woman's Worth. Super good book for gals. It's a really short read too. It's like a teeny tiny book. And then just for everyone in terms of personal development and possibility, my favorite book ever is Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. And that's what started my personal development journey. And I can't recommend that enough as just like an eye-opening look into self-actualization.
I haven't read any of those. I hadn't heard of any of those.
Don't read A Woman's Worth. You probably could skip that one, but the other two you need to read.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. It's so cool when you find, like, when you hear from someone, this is the book that changed my life. And you're like, I didn't even know that it existed.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Never even heard of it.
Wow. So here was the second red pill, actually. We'll finish on that, and then I want you to tell everyone where they can check out your stuff, because you're awesome. The second red pill that I had to swallow was to do with state changes and the sense you have and the excuses that you make before meeting someone, going to spend time with someone, perhaps going home with someone, and it's a defense mechanism. It's an evolutionarily programmed defense mechanism. And the reason it hurt me so bad was because I've been reading tons of Eve Psych recently, evolutionary biology, and I thought I had this stuff down. And I was like, I understand why pride's there. Holy shit. I understand why I feel good when I'm working. And oh my God, I understand what loneliness is. That's what that is. And blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh no, this is so much more pervasive than you thought. It is everything. So that basically, if you are a guy or a girl and you can think back to a time where perhaps you have been having either a serious or a casual encounter with someone who's either existing or new, probably actually no, only someone who's new, or realistically only someone that's new, and you felt some sort of resistance come up in why you shouldn't go over to their house, let them over to your house, go on the date, do the thing, and the front of your brain has given you this really logic. Well, maybe I'm just not that attractive. Oh, I'm so tired. I got this knee ache. I got this, like, it's the outside of my knee, you know, like the kind of the back. Like, you just come up with these things. You rationalize these reasons. But it's not. It's like you are attracted to this person. You were attracted to this person previously. You've been attracted to them for ages. Maybe you've even thought about getting physical with them in the past. Why now are you somehow talking yourself out of it? And it is this fear of state change. We like being in the cave that we know.
Safe and cozy.
We know this cave's safe. The one next door, there might be a saber-toothed tiger in there. Fuck that. I don't want to go in there. It's like, there's not a saber-toothed tiger in there. There is just a guy or a girl in a bed. And you need to be aware of that. You need to know, right, okay, am I saying I'm not attracted to them, my knee hurts too much, I'm tired, work's going to start in the morning? Or is that because you have a fear of going to see them? Or is it more genuine than that? Is this, okay, rubber meets the road time now, like I really need to work out whether or not I'm sufficiently physically attracted to them? But I, like, looking back, the number of times where, and you think like, oh, guys should just be hot to trot all the time. The number of times where I've been like, some excuse on WhatsApp because don't know. Didn't have a reason. Just did it. And I'm like, and I was in Tesco car park in Kenton. It was only a couple of weeks ago when I listened to This Bit of Models from Mark Manson. And I was like walking around in this daze, reflecting on all of the different times where I've done that to myself. I'm like, oh, you dick. You absolute dick. Like, just talking to my own amygdala, like just trying to speak to the base of my own brain, like, you. And it just had me. I was like, that's it. I've come up with so many excuses so many times. I can't see you, don't want to see you, want to do this thing. Or like, I'll just say what happened another time, or whatever it is. And it's just fear of change. That's it.
Right. Yeah, the misery that you're in is more, you know what that feels like. So it's much better than like the misery that you could be in somewhere else that's unknown. One more book recommendation, and for that with relationships, this is a old school book, but it's still super relevant. It's called Conscious Loving by Gay and Katie Hendricks, and they discuss kind of like pleasure limits and upper limits that you have in your relationship where you won't like, oh, well, if I let myself achieve happiness, then it's only that easier to get like dragged back down and be hurt again. It's a really good book. It kind of focuses on people in relationships, but you can still read it as a single person and get a lot out of it.
That's awesome. Amanda, this has been really fun. We've been talking about doing it for ages. I want to get you back on.
I know.
So girls think that you're cool. They want to work with you. I know that do you still only work with girls at the moment?
I only work with women. Yeah, it's just easier for me, honestly. And I work with women who specifically are alcohol-free or sober curious. If you want to hear more about the dating stuff that I'm into, I have a whole course on dating. Honestly, guys could purchase it too. I just wouldn't work with you one-on-one. The dating course you can find on my site, authenticallyamanda.com/mindful dating. And it goes through everything we went through here, but in so much more detail of how I want you to be intentional, how I want you to grow and improve your self-worth so you can be the partner that you want to call in, and then how you interact on dating apps and in the real world, how to set up your profile, like all that stuff. It's all like laid out in there with plenty of exercises and explanation. You
got all the cheat codes in there as well, all the best openers, all that sort of stuff.
Yes, my best opener. It is in there. Never fails. Never fails.
That's so good. Look, Amanda, everything that we've spoken about, Amanda's fantastic socials will be linked below. I can't sing your praises enough. You've been awesome. You've been doing some cool stuff recently in the sober community, and it's so nice as well. Like, I think we've both spoken about this privately, but to see someone who is from that side of the community, but also is really pushing the envelope in other areas. Like, okay, so how can I use the insights that I've gained from my personal development and my growth to make girls better at dating, or to be better wives or better mothers, or whatever it might be. It's so sick. If you've enjoyed this episode, tell me and I'll get Amanda back on. We've got, as you can tell, we're just like buddies chatting away, so we can do this all day. Amanda, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.